Before 1933, president-elects were inaugurated on March 4th, quivering from the threats of the almighty unknowable Qanon.
Your actions on January 6th were an attack on this country. Do you understand that?
No, they were not, ma'am. My actions were not an attack on this country. That is incorrect.
But Jake, legally, you were not allowed to be in what you're calling the sacred chamber.
And that is the one very serious regret that I have, was believing that when we were waved in by police officers that it was acceptable.
This is the new face of extremism in America, so you have to pay attention to it.
Not a surprise that these terrorists that attacked on 1/6 inspired other future terrorists. The House having to shut down today because of fear that Trump terrorists acting once again on his instruction, acting once again based on his big lie, may come and try to kill Democratic lawmakers.
The Democrat-led Nuthouse of Representatives has canceled their March 4th session due to imminent threats from the far-right boogeyman that is supposed to plow through fences topped with razor wire and guarded by roughly 6,000 National Guardsmen, 50 of which that were treated for gastrointestinal issues, as the New York Post reported. Multiple Michigan National Guard members stationed at the U.S. Capitol were sickened after they were served food that was raw, moldy, undercooked, and even filled with metal shavings, according to a letter written by the state's congressional delegation.
And it's real. It's a right-wing militia group that believes that because the original inaugural date was March 4th until the 20th Amendment passed, they think this is the true inauguration day and that President Trump should be inaugurated.
We have to have what we need when we need it and in the numbers that we need it, but that's a security decision. The threat of all the president's men out there, we have to ensure with our security that we are safe enough.
In his memorandum to House leaders, which Fox has obtained, that's exactly what Honoré did. His memorandum calls for a, quote, quick reaction force that permanently resides within the D.C. National Guard by reestablishing a military police battalion and staffing it with active Guard reserve troops who live in or near the city year-round, perpetually on active duty. We're going to repeat that. Year-round, perpetually on active duty. Soldiers occupying our capital city, the seat of our government, forever.
And as the Democrats create more boogeyman threats, rolling out targeted dates into the fall, sucking the power of we the people with vampiric abandon, there is also paranoid intelligence about March 20th, the day the Republican Party came to life in 1834, and Tax Day, April 15th, and there are plenty more frightening federal holidays where those came from. Of course, nobody showed up on March the 4th.
Thanks for your service. You guys see any of those QAnon folks around here today? It's been super quiet. It's more media than anybody else, huh?
Regardless, the madness will continue outside the U.S. Capitol for at least 2 more months, while the snakes in the House passed a sweeping expansion of federal voting oversight, spitting in the face of the very reason the Capitol was breached to begin with.
They didn't bring that bill during the day. They brought it at 2 o'clock in the morning on Friday night, Saturday morning. When no one was watching. They don't want people seeing what they're doing. That's what this is about.
Right.
Again, last night, dark of night, after 10:30 at night, that banned states from showing picture ID to vote. You got to show a picture ID to buy a 6-pack of beer, but to vote, they're banning you from doing that. They mandated same-day voter registration. All of the voter fraud initiatives that have undermined voter confidence in so many states, they're trying to make that be standard. That passed last night at dark of night. Hopefully it won't pass the Senate, but it's an example of what they're bringing. That's what I'm concerned about, those socialist policies that are passing the House of Representatives right now.
Meanwhile, the Capitol Police, backed up by the largest combined police force in the nation, revealed their Keystone cops mentality in hearing after hearing.
When you said you increased the size of dignitary protection, how many people were increased there? How many law enforcement people were increased.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So we went from 4-man protection details and increased that to 6-man protection details.
Okay, so that's not a significant increase at all when you're talking about, what we went through.
And so if DHS assessed white supremacists to be the most lethal threat to Americans, and if INA was aware of domestic violent extremists mobilizing to cause violence on January 6th, then why didn't the department issue a formal intelligence warning that violence could occur?
First, we have heard of that report that we supposedly sent out that said nothing significant to report, and we cannot locate that. So I have no idea where that notion came from.
Will you follow up with us on that report, see if you can find it or where we got that impression?
We've looked, ma'am, for a while.
As the shock wears off and the reality boils, the Democratic corporocratic machine, combined with Liz Cheney Rhino Republican empty threats, desperately trying to protect the largest country club in the United States, won't sit well for much longer amongst a majority of the Republic.
The one thing I'll say for Liz Cheney is I'm sure she has a lot of bipartisan support, because if there's one thing that she and Joe Biden definitely want to do, it's bomb the Middle East. Everything else is a disaster. Everything else is just rhino policies, the kinds of policies that put the Republican Party in a position where they needed a Donald Trump.
John Bound reporting.